Michael J. is a 22-year-old singer-songwriter based in New York, blending raw talent with an undeniable passion for music. As a standout member of the Poetic Studios community, he recently made waves by representing the studio in the Song Wars competition, where he faced off against artists from Underground 808.
Had to represent Team Poetic real quick.
I'm in the club, popping these bottles, I don't need the cup. Fucking these models, they just wanna fuck. Throwing the money, I'm throwing it up. See, I'm blowing up, I'm going up, never go down.
And that's a 10 from me, 10, and 9.5. Michael J took the W, man. 9.5.
Michael emerged victorious, captivating the crowd with his electrifying EDM rap-inspired track. What makes his win even more impressive? He had just 1 hour to create his winning song. In that short time, Michael delivered a masterpiece that outshined 14 other talented artists, proving his creativity and skill under pressure. When he's not crafting chart-worthy beats, Michael is a dedicated college student and the founder of Bacon Jam Studios, where he works as a mixing and mastering engineer. His drive to innovate and elevate his craft is evident in everything he does. There's so much more to Michael J. Let's dive deeper into his story.
Congrats again on the Song Wars tournament. Thank you for representing us so well and helping us get the victory.
Something I've just been curious too. So you're, what, 22? You're living in New York as a musician. What's that like? So we're out here in Colorado. We hear so much about if you go to LA, you go to Atlanta, you go to, New York. These are the places to be for music. These are the, where the networking's at. But we also, see the cost of living in some of these places. From your perspective, is living in New York or a big city, is that the move for a musician trying to, kind of come up, make connections? Or, do you think it might be a little bit easier on you if the cost of living was, the expenses weren't as high?
At the very moment, living isn't financially isn't a big struggle for me, just because I live with my dad. I'm still at where I need to graduate and get a degree and get another job, and then next steps there. But I will say hey,
going to school, and we see how much work you put on your music. You know what I'm saying? So that's awesome that you're able to have your family supports you. Your dad's hey man, I believe in you. Finish school, do your thing.
Yeah, for real, it's goated.
Yeah, sure. And for the city aspect, my mom basically signed me up for a recording studio internship last year that I'm still doing. It's called Lounge Studios. It's in the city. It's a lot of money just to go from here to the city. Trains are so expensive over here. I don't know what it's like in Colorado, but it's really bad.
Did it recently spike up too, or has it been bad for a little while?
No, it's been pretty the same, honestly. I think that's gone up is tolls right now.
Gotcha.
Tolls are insane. But just to come to the city is a lot of money. Just trains, turnstiles are a lot of money. But for what it's worth, it's something that I'm passionate about. So sometimes money isn't really the biggest thing. But I do have a job outside of this. So, I'm able to maintain, those funds.
No, totally. Like you said, I heard someone say if the value's there, you'll figure out the money. If it's that important to you, you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, and especially surrounding yourself with good people. If it's a thing that you're passionate about doing, but the people aren't great, it's probably best that you don't be in that environment, because you're probably gonna hear a lot of things. But that's just life too. So it's a matter if you have a thick skin or not. I kind of do. I don't really mind people. So.
No, totally.
Quick question, just thinking about things. So you said you're going to school right now. You're going to school for art and stuff like that. But you said, hey, I had kind of a moment or something kind of shifted where I was hey, music is really my true passion. This is where I want to end up. This is where I want to be. What kind of changed in your perspective, or what switched? Because something has to kind of I feel switch in your head, because it's to go to school, it's a big commitment, things like that, but to still see yourself hey, I'm investing in all this, but I already see where I am, regardless of everything going on, I see the vision, I see the goal. What caused that? You know what I'm saying? Because your drive, your work ethic is crazy. I have no doubt that you're going to do it. It's just a matter of when to me. But what sparked this motivation, the drive? Everything's crazy, I'm curious. I know that's a lot, but
It's actually a very simple answer. I'm not gonna lie. I was definitely late to the Chris Brown party. I think I discovered him in 2015, and I was like, "Oh, this guy, who is this guy?" And I used to hear him on the radio, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" And I've always kind of this thing where it's okay, I like this song and then I like this song, but I never knew who he was.
mm-hmm.
And then figure out who he was, and I was like, oh wow, this guy's good. And then listen to his old songs like Forever With You. I'm like, damn. And then he can dance too. So that was another, and that got me. Actually, no, that didn't get me into dancing. I used to dance a lot, but not as much anymore. But that was because of Michael Jackson. So I got into like wanting to dance because of Michael Jackson, and then Chris Brown was my music inspiration. But then I also figured out like, oh, I want to be more versatile with everything. So I wanted to learn how to rap because my brother used to rap. And then it was funny because when I was doing art, and I think in like middle school, I would always come home and he was doing music in the basement, but I never really questioned it because it was never really a concern of mine. Like, oh, like how do you do this? How do you do that? So I wasn't into it at the time. Yeah. So he was the rapper and I was the singer. But then he kind of like stopped music, just started working on his own stuff as, you know, just regular work. Yeah. So I think a mixture of like my brother, Chris Brown for sure, and I would say like rap wise, I'd say like J. Cole, low key. I used to listen to Logic for some weird reason.
His old stuff's good.
Oh yeah.
I'll vouch for it, dude. His old, I honestly,
Under Pressure,
I think the same way. I hear of Logic and I'm like, oh, Logic, you know. But I'm like, I used to listen to Logic, but his old stuff is actually really good. Sorry, that was just a disclaimer. I was like, I had to vouch for it.
Yeah. I think someone told me one time, they were like, oh, you sound like a Black Logic when you rap. And I was like, but it's Logic.
Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Like a weird compliment. Yeah.
Nah, for me, like you said, I definitely like his Under Pressure album. That's his #1 to me.
The Incredible True Story is probably number 2.
I'm still a fan, but like you said, I definitely don't keep up with his newer music as much as, you know, his older music.
This next kind of thing I wanted to ask is, you mentioned that, hey, when I'm getting kind of like fed up or like I can't, you know, I need to get inspiration, I listen to like some underground music, upperground music. As being a part of the underground scene, what do you think that, hey, it's missing? Like, you know what I'm saying? When you look at the scene, the underground scene, all the music being put out, as being a part of it, like what's it missing to just keep it thriving, get more people involved, get more listeners? Like what would be fresh? I love to ask artists that because it's always ever changing and like you're a part of it.
That's a great question. Damn.
I know it's kind of a hefty one.
No, that's a good question. I think just people not stepping out of their comfort zone. Honestly, I think that's the biggest thing right now. I just hear too much like rage and hyper pop. I mean, hyper pop's cool. I think too much rage more than anything. Maybe a little bit mumble rap too. It's cool. Mumble rap's cool. I think maybe if you mumble over an Afro beat, that would be kind of different. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Just keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
Changing it up a little bit.
For sure. I mean, I just want to hear more experimental. Like maybe like if someone's a trap artist, just try like doing Brazilian funk or something. Like try something different. I think that's about it. I don't really know, actually. It's a great question. I might have to come back to that question, actually.
I agree with your take, though, from where you're at. I do think, like, people need to get out of their comfort zones. And the reason I asked you that is I think you're a great example of not being afraid to, like, try something new and be your authentic self. We react to music, and so we do hear a lot of rage and, you know, stuff like that. Not to say it's bad or anything, but when it's like, hey, you know, we're hearing a lot of the same stuff, like, when people do come along with a new sound, people are intrigued, you know, hence Michael J. But yeah, that was the reason I wanted to bring that up, Brody. Kind of give you a salute too.
I think production wise too is a big thing. I think another thing too is like artists, when they listen to like a YouTube beat, for example, they're only listening to it for like 15 seconds and they're like, oh, I'm hooked already. But then they listen to it through and then you realize later on when you're doing the song, like, damn, this song, like this beat sounds the same throughout the whole song.
So, yeah, it's just okay.
Yeah, it's just okay. And then you kind of find yourself doing the same cadences and flows and whatnot. And you're like, oh. And then you wonder why it's like, why am I keep doing the same flow and it sounds the same? So I think a change in production is something big in the community of artists in general.
For sure.
That's why it's kind of having different people you can work with. When different people are in the room, I feel like I get different ideas. And so, like you said, just having something that keeps it fresh, keeps it from getting stagnant, from getting stale, from, like you said, just going through the motions, kind of. Because that works for, you know, like mass production, right? But that don't work for, you know, pieces of art where some of my favorite songs I've listened to for 10 years. I don't know how many times, you know, and that doesn't happen if, you know, you don't treat it like it's something special. What are some things that you've noticed kind of build a successful environment, or, you know, that kind of fosters creativity or fosters success in that space, versus maybe some things that kind of hinder success, hinder creativity?
Yeah, I think People who've already learned that are still willing to be taught, I think is a very important thing. And even like professionals, I think people like engineers that already work there, they're still in a space where like, huh, that's interesting, like, so I think that's important to know.
Kind of
'Cause there's
staying
a lot of
curious.
yes, for sure. And yeah, just like being an open book at the end of the day is important. Yeah.
That's awesome. When people feel like they know it all, aren't really open to new ideas, kind of only want to see it from their perspective, that's when you start to see some of these creative sessions either breaking down or, not leading into, hey, they want to come back and work again.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with people saying no. Like if you do like a plugin and they're like, nah, I kind of want it natural, then you kind of just have to be like, okay, cool.
It's their song.
And yeah, there's some people that they just don't like an effect, and they just like they're so used to like just natural. It's like, okay, cool. And sometimes simple is cool, but sometimes you can also introduce that person to something new, a different door, and they're like, oh, that's you're right. That's pretty cool. So yeah, just flexibility is important.
Gotcha. That makes a ton of sense. One thing that, as you were talking about, just hey, kind of keeping it fresh, like you said, something that stuck out to us about Michael J was, hey, he makes some longer songs than we typically see. Hey, sometimes we're seeing minute and a half songs these days. Would you mind maybe speaking on that? Is that intentional that you do that, or is that just you got a lot to say on on the track?
I do got a lot to say, more verbally than I do musically. The whole 3-minute songs, 4-minute songs, I think that's more of a when I'm like teaming up with HLS, because I am still an independent artist at the same time.
Totally.
But like there's so many people in the group. It's like I don't like to leave people out, and some people like to do longer verses, and that's kind of more of their type of taste. I like to keep songs like 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. But there's nothing wrong with that. Some people just don't have big attention span, especially nowadays in music or just in general. So
one of my favorite songs by Kendrick Lamar, for example, is "Sing About Me Dying of Thirst," like a 13-minute track. But it's probably got like a tenth of the plays as like Humble or one of those kind of crowd favorites that you can play that in so many more situations that sometimes it's like you just don't want to think about all that or hear about all that. And so I totally hear you where it's like, hey, there's no right or wrong answer. Different people in different situations are gonna appreciate different pieces.
I had a question for you just regarding like you're talking about kind of workflow, stuff like that. With Bacon Jam Studios, you guys, you engineer, right? What is the go-to plugin? Like, what is the most goated plugin in your opinion that it's just like, hey, me and all my boys, this is what we use. This is what we'd put anybody onto. Do you have like a goated plugin?
I definitely do. It's definitely got to be Fresh Air for sure.
Ooh.
I love air. Just slap it on.
Yeah.
Couple knobs, it's like easy as hell.
Right, and it's free too.
Free too. It's insane. It's like
the best part.
That obviously Waves Tune. I love Waves Tune. Real time.
Waves Tune, fire.
You've shared some, demos of songs that you're working on our live stream. Are you starting to kind of work through, hey, these ones are gonna, come out? Are they gonna come out as a project? Are you gonna maybe drop them as singles? Have you kind of started thinking through the, releases of those, or you still just in the creation phase?
Oh, for like the EP?
Yeah, you're working on an EP?
Yeah, I'm working on the EP.
I saw something on your Instagram. 2 things that I thought was cool. I don't know if it's still going on, but that open verse challenge you had, I thought that was pretty cool. And then also I saw some like EP set list, it looks like, or track lists. I would love you to speak a little bit more towards that.
That took a lot of narrowing down out of me, and just when you put out something, you're just like, you need that confidence to be like, damn, yes, like this is the one. I don't like to just like rely on myself too much. I like to rely on having artists pick songs for me as well. And I think I like to go with the majority and maybe have some of them that people didn't like as much and try to flesh them out a little more and be like, okay, like why don't people like this one as much as this one? And I do find myself like the ones that I don't like as much, people love the most, and I'm like, that's so crazy. And I think that's because little is more. So sometimes when I don't try as hard, it's like, okay, wow, this is fire, And it's like when I try so hard, I'm like, what do you think? They're like, oh, I was like, really? Like, all right, so yeah. And then there's always like that great combination or balance when you have somebody who likes the song and then you also like the song, and then it's like, okay, like I can level with you, like, yeah, I do too like the song, and that's when that's the one. Like, for example, when I previewed Layoff that one time, I don't know if you guys remember that one track. I think that was like 2-3 streams ago.
Bro, are you kidding me? This is one of them ones you get the music video for.
That was great. That's like a hit song.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, like this is a crazy record. So that's kind of like my thought process of going about it. And also I like to I think that adds to my point earlier with the underground artists. I think storylines are important too. For some reason, I don't like to just put tracks on randomly. I like to have it in a story way. So yeah, this EP is definitely in a story way. It may not be like pertain to me, but it's just like how I saw it in order from like, I don't know, this track would be a good secondary track to come in, and this is a good intro track, outro track, etc. So I think taking into something is very important rather than just throwing stuff on. Like for example too, it's like if I have an Afrobeat track but I have an R&B track, but I have another Afrobeat, I don't want to put Afrobeat because now it's like, okay, people are gonna assume this is like the same stuff over and over, and that might not be their taste, and it might touch a specific audience, for example. So yeah, just taking thought into everything. Yeah.
So you're saying one of the things kind of missing from the underground is that presentation of a project, of a, you know, kind of an arc, more than just, hey, here's a track to rock with for now.
Yeah, and I think asking yourself why, you know, is a very important thing. Like, why am I putting this track on it? Like, you know, instead of like, I think a lot of artists be like, you know what, I have this in my vault, I'm just gonna throw it in, like, just without any care.
It's just one of my top 10 songs that I've made. Like,
yeah, just. But there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are just like, oh, don't keep it in the vault, like put it in, throw it out, you know. But that, you know, that can always be dropped as a single. So
I always think of examples like Mona Lisa with Lil Wayne and Kendrick Lamar. They had to hold that song for so long. Like I remembered when it came out, I was listening to it, and Kobe had retired, and Kendrick was saying something about, like, you know, courtside at the Lakers, Black Mamba with the ball. And I was like, man, they've been sitting on this for a while. Like, but like you said, just doing everything it takes to, you know, really, that was part of the Carter 5, you know, like to really present it the way that it was supposed to be presented. And like you said, having that discipline, that patience as an artist, I think that's an important thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
One that I've been dying to ask you was, there was a song on one of our live streams that just out of the blue, no warning, you sent us this banger of a song. And then you're like, oh yeah, you just casually dropped in the chat like, hey, this almost made it onto Fortnite. Tell me about that, man. I've been so curious to ask you about that.
So basically I have a cousin, and he knows somebody who's in the industry, and he's more of like a production guy. Like he makes beats and composes it, and he actually just landed the Batman, the new Batman trailer. So yeah, and he was like, yo, bro, I did that. I was like, oh, that's sick, bro. And then he kind of just sending me stuff and opportunities. So I just been in contact with this guy, and he's just been sending me opportunities. So I'm very thankful for him, as well as my cousin, for putting me on. So it just inspires me to keep working, and, you know, even regardless of how many no's you get, I'm gonna strive for a yes eventually. And once I get that yes, then, you know, the rest is history for whatever happens.
Right, all it takes is one. Literally, all it takes is one opportunity. Very true.
So he sent you that song. How long did you have to work on it, or like, you know, did you know in advance that you were going to be working on this thing, or, you know, was it just kind of like hey, I got this, you know, gotta slide through, you know, are you open?
Yeah, basically, like I said, it was like 9 o'clock at night, and he was like, oh, like, I know this girl and she knows about this Fortnite thing going on, and I'm like, okay. And then he kind of gets me in contact with her. We talk for like 10 minutes. And he's like, oh, like, I've heard your stuff. You're dope, whatever. And she just sent me the beat. And I heard the beat, and I was like, damn. I was like, I've never done this before in my life. So I was like, let me see what happens. And then, you know, I never like to do one thing, like just rap. And then like, I feel like just rap is kind of boring, like for me personally. So I just want to like tie a little of my own roots, like singing roots, and just, so that was that. And I got it done in an hour. And she was like, wow, holy shit. Like, you got that done in like an hour. And I was like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. So more opportunities to come for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Just to pivot a little bit, man, I've been curious for a while to kind of get to know you a little bit more. If you had one, either you can choose, but one either like movie character or TV show character that represents you, or is like, oh, this is like me, you know, do you have one, or who would it be?
I would probably say, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? Hell yeah.
That's my guy growing up. I just like his resilience and just able to tell jokes through very, like, you know, grieving situations and stuff, and like times you can't even be joking. So that's always like been a thing for me, just joking even during the most serious situations, just to as my coping mechanism, along with music. But from this state, yeah, like Spider-Man for sure.
That's a good answer, bro. Honestly, that was a really good answer.
Is there anything else that, you know, kind of comes to mind, or, you know, anything you want to share with your fans before we head out?
If you ever want a Spider-Man mask, hit me up. I can always make you a mask. I know how to sew.
Really?
So, okay, you sew? What? You said you went to school for art. Was that sewing or?
No, that was painting, like drawing, digital art too, like Photoshop, Illustrator.
Do you be making your own cover arts and, you know, things like that?
Yeah, but recently I've been sticking to AI as of recently, because these Adobes are so expensive and monthly, even when you're a student. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
No, that's awesome.
I'll take a Spider-Man mask.
What color you want, the measurements.
Say less. Say less. I'll figure out my mask size and I'll
I was
get
like,
back
I
to
don't
you.
even know how to measure mask size.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that.
I'm sure it's just heads.
Oh,
like,
we're
circumference or whatever.
It's like maybe how.
Yeah, something like that. We'll figure it out.
All right. Well, hey, Michael J, thank you so much for hopping on here, sharing some of your time with us. Man, I'm excited to see where you go with your music. Where do you post your updates? If people want to follow along for updates on your career, you know, they want to hear about your new EP, where's the best spot to tap in with you? And we'll put it in the description too.
Yeah.
Honestly, just my Instagram. I'm not really a Facebook head or anything.
Me neither.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like that's the norm now. Like Instagram. All right.
Yeah. It was honestly a pleasure today to get to know you more, bro. Like all the time we've spent together digitally and like through our Twitch stream and everything like that. It's super cool to get to meet you. Like almost IRL, right? Like we're face to face, but yeah, but obviously not in person. But you know what I'm saying? Like it was really cool to get to meet you, bro. Like you're a really genuine, cool guy, and like I appreciate all the times you've come to our stream, any of the times you've put people on, you've showed love, dude. Like seriously, like
collaborated with other people in the community.
Like seriously, dude, like we genuinely appreciate that shit. Like nothing goes unnoticed, even if it's, you know what I'm saying, we try to mention the things we see and all that, but like for real, man, thank you for everything you've ever done for us.
Nah, thank you for having me out. Shout out to North Star for putting me on to you guys. That's how I actually, you know, that was really cool. He actually on the stream for a while, but he'll probably come back shortly. Also,
shout out North Star and HLS. Like you said, great guys.
Also, before I go to more stuff, I will have with Teo and Malik the Sheik soon.
Let's go
for that.
W.
Oh, and Jupe for sure.
Jupe?
Okay. No, I'm hyped.
Yeah,
I'm hyped for real. All right, Michael J, we will see you at the next perfect time.